You just stepped out of the shower. The steam on the mirror is slowly fading. With a towel wrapped around your waist, you walk over to the wardrobe with damp steps and pull open that drawer. Inside, there is utter chaos. On one side, your beloved veteran gray underwear with a loose elastic band, worn so thin you could make geographical discoveries on it. That veteran gray underwear. On the other side, that expensive, flawless piece bearing the logo of a high quality brand, worn only on very, very important days. That moment lasts only 2 seconds. Your hand reaches for one, you put it on, and you start your day. But wait, you think this is just a very ordinary action you do completely on autopilot. Yet, standing half naked in front of that drawer, you are actually standing right in the middle of a 7,000-year-old legacy. The weirdest, most overlooked, and perhaps most fascinating legacy in human history. Yes, it's just a piece of underwear. But what really made us civilized wasn't the wheel or fire. It's that veteran gray underwear. As modern humans, we think we are very rational, very logical. We send rovers to space. We write code. But when it comes to underwear, our brains suddenly short circuit. Think about it. You are going on a short 2-day weekend trip. How many pairs of underwear do you pack in your suitcase? 5? 7? Maybe 10? Why? Are we expecting to wet ourselves 4 times a day? Are we afraid that aliens will abduct us on the road and leave us in nothing but our underwear? No, there is no logical explanation. We are just experiencing an instinctual panic inherited from our ancestors. Even in the drawer, there is a secret caste system. Those worn-out veterans you wear while paying rent or going to the grocery store. And that savior underwear, usually strictly black, that makes you feel like you're going to conquer the world. We modern humans, while living at the peak of technology, are still looking for our most primitive safety under the table. So, when did this obsession begin? Why did humans suddenly say, I need to specially package the area between my 2 legs? The answer lies not in fashion, but in survival itself. Let's rewind the time machine 5,300 years back to the peaks of the Alps. The year 1991. Mountaineers found a corpse in the ice. The famous Iceman, Otzi. Otzi had frozen to death. He was wearing a great leather jacket, a cape made of grass, and snowshoes. But the detail that truly surprised scientists was something else. Otzi had underwear, a piece of leather made from goatskin, passing between his legs and tied to his belt. Otzi didn't wear this thinking, oh, I hope my private parts don't show. At minus 20 degrees on top of the Alps, no one was playing the morality police. Otzi wore it because friction was a death sentence. Harsh leather and thick fabrics rubbing against his flesh and causing wounds meant infection in that era, and infection meant death. So, underwear was a cruel dictation of nature. Soft tissues had to be protected. Let's move a little forward. Ancient Egypt, pyramids, colossal statues. In 1922, when Howard Carter opened the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, he couldn't believe his eyes. Alongside priceless treasures, there was something else inside. Exactly. 145 pairs of linen underwear. Ancient Egyptians believed in the afterlife so much that they couldn't risk the pharaoh going without underwear on his journey to eternity, because wearing soft linen in the desert heat was the ultimate VIP luxury. Remember how we just questioned why we pack so much underwear for a 2-day trip? Apparently the panic of, what if something happens on the journey and I'm caught unprepared, has been etched into our genes for thousands of years. The guy went to the next world with 145 spares. But history doesn't always progress logically and cleanly. Sometimes things get very, very disgusting. Here, we reach the turning point of the story. Medieval Europe, dark and foul-smelling years. Forget all those knights and princesses that come to mind. Because the medieval person had a massive problem. Water, bathing, was seen as a trick of the devil. People wouldn't wash for months, even years. Even kings were lucky if they took a bath twice a year. So, in all this filth, how were they supposed to keep those massive, expensive velvet outer garments clean? Here is the greatest irony in the history of underwear. Today, you think you wear underwear to protect yourself from the outside world. No, in the Middle Ages, underwear was used to protect those expensive outer garments from you, from your sweat, from your dirt, from your oils, and your grossness. They wore wide linen drawers that reached down to their knees. Linen absorbed the sweat, so that the expensive velvet jacket outside wouldn't get dirty. A person locked their own body in a linen prison. And the weird part is, there was another enemy. Lice, fleas, bedbugs. In the Middle Ages, underwear was the last line of defense between you and the army of bugs invading your body. You could throw the linen underwear into boiling water. You could kill the fleas inside, but you couldn't wash that flashy royal coat outside. So that underwear wasn't a piece of clothing. It was a walking quarantine. Centuries passed. The 19th century. The Industrial Revolution. Steam engines, massive factories, and those famous one-piece woolen long johns, stretching from the neck to the ankles, with a button flap in the back for bathroom needs. A red torture device. It itches. It makes you sweat. And worst of all, it turned going to the bathroom into a literal math problem. Humanity was waiting for a savior. And that savior didn't come from a laboratory or fashion designers, but from the rubber tree, the elastic band. Until that day, there was only one way to keep underwear from falling off the waist: tying a string tightly or fastening a button. Imagine that string getting tied in a knot when you desperately needed the bathroom, or the button popping off. It was a major crisis. But in the 1930s, someone had the idea to sew that flexible elastic strip into the waistband of the fabric. This was a revolution. No more tying strings. You pulled the underwear up, and the elastic snapped right onto your waist. When you were done, you just pulled it down. The pull and release technology. Thanks to this elastic band on the waist, in 1935, a man named Arthur Kniebler designed that famous modern brief. On the very first day it came out, there was a sub-zero blizzard in Chicago. Despite this, the 600 pairs of underwear in the store window sold out in just a few hours. Men had fallen in love with this modern architecture that didn't imprison their legs and held onto their waists all by itself. But let's pause. Right here. Maybe we are exaggerating the subject a bit too much. It's just a piece of cloth after all, right? It's not saving the world. Let's put aside all this history, the lice, the pharaohs, and the itchy wool. Why do we still do this today? We no longer have a lice problem. We have hot water and heating in our homes. Why do we still have to open that drawer every single day? Because the issue is the most secret boundary we draw against the endless theater of perfection that the outside world expects from us. The outside world always demands something from you: to be serious, to be compliant, to look professional. That suit you wear to a job interview or the tie you put on for the office is your way of telling society, I am here and I am playing by your rules. It is a social uniform, but beneath that uniform, in that first layer that no one sees, there is a world that belongs entirely to you. From the outside, you might be a very serious architect buried in projects, a cold-blooded data analyst staring at a screen, or a grumpy manager. But under your pants, you might be wearing boxers covered in yellow ducks, or that faded, baggy veteran piece, simply because it's comfortable. No one knows this but you. That is, your only domain of freedom that you keep to yourself, one that doesn't bow to the rigid rules of the outside world. It is our most honest identity. You wear a jacket for others, but you wear underwear for yourself. It is the last fortress you close off to the rest of the world. And now, we return to the beginning. You just stepped out of the shower. The steam on the mirror is slowly fading. With a towel wrapped around your waist, you walk over to the wardrobe with damp steps and pull open that drawer. Now, you can look inside that drawer with very different eyes. There aren't just pieces of fabric lying in there. In there lies the survival struggle of Ötzi, who froze to death in the Alps. The pharaoh's desire for immortality is there. The disgusting survival war of the Middle Ages is in there. Once upon a time, it was worn to avoid dying from friction, then to protect against lice, then to live more comfortably. And today, most of us wear it without even thinking. But that ordinary piece of fabric you pull from the drawer and put on every morning, it is the silent legacy of very real problems that humans tried to solve for thousands of years. All this 7,000-year history, that massive legacy, rests right there in the threads of that veteran boxer shorts with the slightly loose elastic. Your hand reaches for one, you pull it on, and you are ready to blend into the outside world.